All right, welcome to the July 3rd Board of Park Commissioners meeting. Call to order, start off with.
Roll call would be Mr. Cappers, Mr. Emmerich,
Here.
Mrs. Westfall.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Awesome. First matter of business is approving the June 5th minutes. Make a motion to approve if we don't have any other comments on that.
Motion to approve. Second.
Second. So then,
All in favor? For the minutes, you just,
yeah, for the minutes, it's approved.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. All right.
All right, we're getting through there. To the reports, Jeremy, I think you had your submitted report. Any other comments to make along with that?
I don't have anything to comment or add.
Okay. And Ken is not here today. Kyler, you had your submitted report. Anything to add or comment?
Nothing to add or comment to.
Okay, and then we can talk about the upgrade on the potential RFQ on the later here on the new business form. Okay. And then Mr. Capper's Planning Commission report. Nothing else to add from that?
He
that
did
angle?
not submit anything.
Okay. All right. Motion to accept the reports.
Any second that?
All right. Motion passed then?
I'll call the roll for that.
Okay.
Mrs. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich.
Here?
Approved.
All right. So moving on to old business, the update for the RFP for the T-signs for Miami Shores?
Yeah, I'm just still in the process of getting that submitted to Sue as far as any recommended changes that I have to it. And once I submit that to her, then for the following meeting, you'll have that in your hands.
Okay, so we're still okay for timelines and everything like that? Nothing's...
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing that is going to take place this year as far as that goes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Moving on to new business. The City Park Board received notice of a transfer for an existing liquor permit at the 201 East Staunton Road Store. This notice was received due to the proximity to the North Market Street ball fields. All indications are that the City Council already approved this and this was okay.
City Council does not actually approve what
Okay.
they are advised by the police department as to whether or not there is a need to object. They were told that there was no need to object. So therefore, City Council has submitted the report back to the state stating that they do not request a hearing. So that might be the same action that the board would take.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, and I don't see any issues with that, especially since we kind of, had a chance from City Council to see if there's any objections. Susan, did you have anything?
Yeah.
Okay. So motion to approve that.
And I second that.
So
Roll call.
roll call then.
Mr. Emmerich?
Here?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall?
Yes.
Approved.
All right. Next, new business is accepting the Troy Aviation Pioneer Sculpture Area. Jeremy, anything to add on that one at all?
No, I was just saying, we have already taken over all the maintenance on that, watering the trees, watering the plants that are there, as well as bed maintenance. So everything looks good. All the plants have survived really well with the dry weather. And so it was a smooth transition.
Okay.
Are there plaques up and everything
Everything
completed?
is complete, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
A dedication is being scheduled for the end of this month. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date. And you will be receiving an invitation to that. The accepting of the area was requested by the donors, and that was Mr. Capper supported that, as did the Director of Law. So it would take a motion and a vote to accept it.
Okay.
Okay.
So then motion to approve,
Yeah. I
Second.
second that. Yes.
and I don't approve it.
I'll call the roll. Mrs. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich?
Yes.
Okay, approved.
The next order of business is the request from the Cedar Citizen Center to erect a storage shed. What's going on there?
Yeah,
with that?
so as the letter from Tamara from the Senior Center states, she's in the very early process of this. And actually, after talking to her further, I think it's a good idea that we actually tour that site in August. So that would be my recommendation, that she's actually just seeking permission at this time from the board to possibly move forward. She wants to write a grant for that building, and so there's very limited details at this time as far as size, what exactly that'll look like, and we want to make sure obviously that matches the center and so forth. So I think my recommendation would be we tour the site in August, and then we can talk more with Tamara from the center and get details and put a stipulation, as long as you know, our stipulations and requirements are met, that she can move forward with seeking funding and so forth. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, and you're kind of overseeing that project right now?
Yes.
But this is very preliminary stages, we don't have drawings or locations really nailed down or anything like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I will communicate very closely with her and relay that back to the board as we move forward, if we do decide to do that. But, and I will have oversight on the project if we do in fact do that.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure we'd like to see some type of plan. I saw some of the notes regarding, you know, aesthetics and proper look, you know, how everything's gonna look and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, let's just make sure that we add that to our list when we do our tour here.
Absolutely.
Coming up, and we'll table it for a further discussion. Okay. Next item of business here is the recommendation of the City Council to permit overnight camping at Treasure Island in conjunction with the University of Dayton River Stewards, September 8th and 9th. My understanding is that we've done this historically in the past, and we've granted this, so I don't see any issues with it at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, so motion to approve that.
This would be a recommendation to City Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
City Council would have to enact specific legislation to permit this, because it's, camping is prohibited
Okay.
at this point.
We just
So-
have to determine if there's anything that we see as a problem.
Right, and then
Okay.
recommend on to council that they would consider.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely pass that recommendation on to council.
We would need a motion on that.
Okay, I'll make the motion to recommend to City Council.
I second that.
Mr. Emmerich?
Yes.
Mrs. Westphal?
Yes.
It's approved.
The next item of new business is to acknowledge and receive a check from William H. Mayer Successor Trust in the amount of $1,231. I'll make a motion to approve and acknowledge that.
Second that.
Okay, Mrs. Westphal?
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich?
Yes.
Approved.
The next item of business here is consider prohibiting swimming and fishing from the city property and docks at Treasure Island with the posting of signs. I know, Susan, we had some questions that we kind of were looking to get some more information on regarding that.
You might want to ask Mr. Titterington.
Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
We are making this recommendation based on the fact that we started another busy season out at Treasure Island. Activity continues to grow out there. We've got a lot of events, concerts, boating activities are going on, fishing that has long gone on, but it continues to be popular out there. And of course, we have our swimmers that with the new and expanded dock sites, it's become more and more of an attraction. Of course, last year we had the regretful drowning out there. We've had, in the last 18 months, we've had 70-plus incidents, not drowning incidents, but just of all different kinds based on the address of Treasure Island, some of which are related to the swimming, to the activities, just the attraction that's going on there, some just because it's the Treasure Island address, and that's what we need to tag in the communication center when there's a police response. So the 70-plus sounds like a lot and may or may not be directly related, but nonetheless, it has been an issue, and the mayor had asked us to continue to look into it, especially after last year. We, at that time, we being specifically Mr. Kerber, the law director, talking to the Miami Valley Risk Management Association, VERMA, which is our insurance pool. to look into what we can and can't do, what we should and shouldn't do when we look at the Ohio Revised Code and the protections that we have under immunity from recreational activities, and how we may affect that immunity by doing certain things or not doing certain things. And at the time, after the incident in particular, McVerman's recommendation to us and then Grant's recommendation to the staff was that we really shouldn't do anything different. However, we've presented them with all the activity and the incidents and the like, asking them at the mayor's request to relook at that and see if there's anything else that we can do, because we are growing concerned, again, due to all the activity. McVerman has come back to us, and Grant has given us some language to ask you to update your regulations to prohibit swimming in the harbor, as well as from the banks off of, I guess, any of the park property along Treasure Island. We can't prohibit somebody from, let's say they launch the boat or a canoe, and then they go out into the middle of the river and they swim. That is a state waterway. We don't have control over the swimming there, but we can control the entry points to swimming. So if they go off-site and they want to jump in the river, that becomes a state issue, not the city's issue. And we've explained that to people who grow concerned with, especially some of the youth that like to jump into the middle of the river. Not that it's normally that deep, but they still get concerned about it. So we know that there are limits to what we can do, but McVerman, as well as Mr. Kerber, have recommended that if we do want to control it, that the way to do that would be the park board, in your rules and regulations, update those to do two things. Number one, prohibit swimming from any of the park property out there, including the harbor. And number two, like we are doing now, but get to have you formalize this, because we weren't sure if we had done this last year, but because of the fountain pumps that we have out there, because we do have boaters, and it is fairly active as launch, we do have a private company that does the boat canoeing, kayaking activities out there. We do have a sign that says no fishing in the harbor, and we'd like you to formalize that in your regulations at the same time. That would not prohibit fishing. I know looking at the memo that we actually did last night, we weren't real clear on the fishing restrictions that we were asking for. The fishing restrictions would only be the prohibition in the harbor itself, because we do have a lot of fisher people, men and women, that will fish off the back of the island, as well as along the banks of the Treasure Island, and we don't see an issue with that. Police department's here if you've got any technical questions. I didn't see Matt. Matt is here. The fire chief is here as well, just in case there's any more information that you need. We are asking for an update to the regulations, as well as authorization to put what probably would amount to two different signs. One in front of the harbor that says no fishing or swimming in the harbor, and then the other one along the banks and behind the island itself that says no swimming.
Would that include like people that want a tube and that kind of thing too? So they'd have to go out and.
Tubing is not a swimming. That would probably fall more under the canoeing, kayaking, and rafting type, wouldn't it? Or would we? I guess we'd get clarification on that, because I'm getting a blank stare back here. That's a good question.
I would believe so. They would fall under that canoe and kayak.
Okay. But we'll clarify that with Grant, so that the police department knows the limits.
Part of the Riverfest activities did include tubing in the harbor too, I guess would be something to keep in mind with that.
I guess that supports Captain Long's interpretation that that would probably fall under the kayaking and canoeing more than the swimming.
Okay.
Because at least if you're on a tube, should be above the water.
It should be, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I know we kind of got some feedback,
From Alan.
yeah, from Alan about this, ahead of the meeting based off the memo that you sent, and, essentially what we're looking at here is that, this sometimes supersedes some of the ordinances that we have in place, and kind of think that this is more of a council issue, and that they should be responsible for that legislation.
I would agree.
Anything else there, Susan, you think?
No, and that was kind of Alan's recommendation too.
Well, and with all respect to Alan, he did send that concern to Grant. Grant answered Alan with the specific ORC codes, sections that do allow the park board to do this as part of your authority under the state law. And so, I guess one of our concerns is waiting to then have a committee meeting with the council and go to the next council meeting, which would not be for another 2 weeks. Again, we are in the busy season. It is something that's under the purview of the park board, so you have every right to do this under the state law.
Okay.
So that's our concern.
Okay. No, I think that's fair, and you said the initial recommendation was that, to not, we didn't really necessarily have to do anything from talking with the insurance agency, things like that. They said, business as is. So if we make a, motion today versus meeting it, after the fact or something like that, I mean, if we table it for a week or something like that till we have everybody together, I mean, do you see that as an immediate issue at all or not?
Only that, we've got a lot of activity going on and we're hitting the peak season out there.
Sure.
You never know what may or may not happen. Knock on wood, nothing would happen. I don't believe that you will have a full board at your next meeting either. Next month. I believe Mr. Cappers is out next month.
Is it the opinion that EMS supports this? I mean, or?
Both police and fire both support it. I mean, they're here. I didn't want to speak for them if you'd like them to come
Yeah, I would
up.
like to hear what they have to say. If anything.
Yes, the police department would support this kind of regulation, knowing that there are always exceptions. For example, if somebody falls out of a canoe, we're certainly not going to get them for swimming in the harbor. But in general, we've got, the city has equipment, the pumps and the fountains in the harbor area, and for whatever reason, since the park has been redeveloped, the good news is that it's being used quite a bit more. But the bad news is that we also are drawing a lot of kids into the harbor swimming and doing things that may damage equipment or may present themselves with a risk. So we would support, the signage, the legislation to at least give us the opportunity to speak to people and to get them to use other choices. Certainly enjoy the river, but to use places other than Treasure Island as a place to perform those activities.
Do we have any other options for people to swim in the river? I'm not a big.
Certainly, they could enter from any other area along the levee, north or south of Treasure Island, or from any other area. We quite often have people swimming in the area near North Market Street Bridge and nearer to the dam, actually, which is not quite as safe, and we do check on them, but there's only, usually the only time we get involved with that is just to check on the people, make sure everyone's okay and everyone's safe, and to make sure they're not using the either the railroad bridge or North Market Street Bridge to jump off of.
So is it your opinion that kids swimming there is unsafe? That's the purpose of this?
No, I think the purpose is that you've got a lot of activities, both boating And certainly if you have people fishing there and swimming, the problem is that it seems that since we've developed that and put in the docks and so forth, it's become a magnet for a lot more of that activity. And a lot of that's unsupervised.
Okay, so would that become a supervised area for you guys to keep an eye on, or you wait till somebody calls and says there's kids down here?
We do patrol it regularly, as is evidenced by the 70 calls that we've spent there. We do try to keep an eye, particularly in the evenings or later in the evenings, and particularly for damages or persons coming in at night.
Has that been an issue?
Well, we have people who pull into the park areas after closing, yes, later at night, for whatever reasons, and our night shift in particular has been busy there checking on anybody who might use that parking area.
Okay, but not necessarily swimming at
Not
night?
necessarily swimming,
Okay.
all times of year. Even in the winter season, we do have people who pull back there for whatever reason.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out if they're swimming there because it's easy to get into the water because of the dock. I mean, I'm not sure, why are they picking this area? Because of the easy access to it, or?
I think
Well, it's an attractive place, it's a free place.
Sure.
It's just a way to cool off, it's a way to be
Okay.
kids. We've got the handicap accessible dock now, a third dock out there, which is much larger, creates a nice platform for the daring to either jump off the top of or try to swim under.
Okay.
So, in a way, it could be considered an attractive nuisance out there.
All right, all right.
Do we have any type of signage out there now? I mean, is there a warning or anything like that, or high
No,
water?
and, that's where we had talked to Maberma about anything that we should put up there, and at the time they said, well, your best protection under the law is not to have that signage. Now, we do have the no fishing in the harbor, and we did that because Jeremy's staff was spending a lot of time untangling fishing line from the pumps, and I think we had to replace one or two burned out pumps. So that got to be a real concern, and so we did put a
Okay.
sign out there.
Okay.
To my opinion, it is very dangerous to swim in that area. When we have been dispatched out there and we've had the incidents, and specifically where the docks are, it was created, and, we have that for some opportunity for some folks who have some handicaps to be able to enter the water as well, which is a big dock that creates some void space underneath those docks that, for whatever reason, is alluring some of those children. They can go underneath of there and still get air, but then what happens is it's dark. But also, I'd like to point out that when we've been there, we haven't seen anybody with personal flotation devices swimming, which in any moving waterway, it is dangerous for anybody to swim, without a personal flotation device, which is the recommendation by the state, ODNR. So when anybody's swimming in the river, there's currents, there's different things. Even, this little rain that probably just happened now is going to create a difference of the flow of the river. So in our opinion, it's dangerous for anybody to be out there in the river when, there's not a lot of education on how to swim in the river. And also by not using the personal flotation devices, that they're not handy there at the dock, that, hey, we can put these on and swim. So as a fire department EMS perspective, we feel that it is a danger for those people to be in the water.
Okay, so it's your opinion that we need signage saying no swimming?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And essentially, we already have the no fishing in the harbor, so that's already there, right? So, okay.
I could just add real quick, I'm in Treasure Island quite a bit, just about really every week and sometimes multiple days during the week. I will say since the park has been redeveloped, almost daily there are kids unsupervised down there. I had a mother and two kids come up to me last week and asked if they were allowed to swim in the harbor, and of course at that time I said, yes, you are. That was just one of many that was supervised. Most of them are not. Last summer I witnessed a patrolman pull in right after the drowning. It was within the week after the drowning. There were two kids all on the handicap dock with a toddler. The toddler couldn't have been maybe a year old at the most. And the two kids with that toddler were not watching the toddler. The patrolman walked in and talked to them, actually walked out to the dock, took time to talk to them. And of course, there was nothing he could do to tell them they weren't allowed to do that. After he left, I continued to watch them swim in the harbor by themselves, unsupervised. So it does happen regularly, just about every day during the summer, especially right now. Kids down there, I think that's the biggest thing. It's kids, unsupervised. Every once in a while, I'll see a parent with them that's actually supervising, but typically unsupervised. And as Chief Simmons said, no flotation devices whatsoever. They're just down there at their own free will.
So Sue, what would be the next steps to pass this as a park board rule? Is that something we just vote on now, or just,
That's it.
that's it?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, is there anything else you think you need to hear? I mean,
No.
as far as that's
No.
concerned, do we kind of have the buy-in from, seems like everybody here, including our own
Yeah,
staff?
I would motion to approve the signage.
Okay. I can second that.
Mrs. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich?
Yes,
It's approved.
Thank you.
thanks. The last order of new business, notation of request from Charles and Jane Carnum to be able to purchase a small parcel of land at Archer Park, which is adjacent to their property. Do we have any more detail about that land right now?
I
or
have
what's
not,
going
I've
on?
not met Mr. Carnum out there yet. I do plan to do that, to get an actual look at the land, what the area he's talking about is. I think that's something we can definitely tour.
Yeah.
When we tour, I guess it's September now, to take a better look at that, and we'll talk more too about long-term use for that space
Okay.
from the park board's perspective.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, so we can actually see that.
Mr. Titter?
Yeah.
Just to add to that, this came, I don't know if you have this, did they get a copy of the letter? Okay, so this came to me from actually the Carnum's attorney. They wanted to just formalize it and make sure that you all knew that they were interested in this. Mr. Kerber did share with me the code sections to make sure that I was reminded that, and could remind the park board. I know Alan knows this, but I'm not sure that we've done any surplus property since you both have been on the board. But basically, the process follows that the park board would have to determine that section that they're asking for, first of all, can be split off. Second of all, is surplus property that's no longer needed, so you would have to make that recommendation to the council. The council then would declare it as surplus and authorize a bidding, because it still does have to go through sealed bids, at which time we would notify the Carnums, as well as there'd be a media notification that we have to do by state law. So it's not a quick process. It starts with a recommendation from the park board. In the past, as I think I know every year you will split off and
Sure.
evaluate the different properties that the park owns or operates. And some years there will be some recommendations that this little pocket park is surplus, so, auction it or put it up for bid. This would be the same process.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think the next step is for us definitely to survey as part of that park tour and get a better understanding of what the ask is. Let's just table that for that future.
Until we get more information.
Yeah, until we get that more information at that future site visit, I guess, then. Any new business? Any other additional new business than what we've covered?
No,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Moving over to, I guess, the other section, what is that?
If there's anything else to be brought up, anything else to come before the board?
Anything else to come before the board? All right, then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All right.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Approved. You are
All right.
adjourned.